Jonathan. Good morning. My name is Alice Clark, and I have the privilege of serving as Vice Chancellor for Research and Sponsored Programs at the University of Mississippi. I also have the privilege of serving as the current chair of the Mississippi Research Consortium. And let me see if I can figure out how this works. Here we go. Yeah. So I want to take a moment, first of all, to introduce my colleagues at the research universities and give you just a brief history of the Mississippi Research Consortium. This is a group of the chief research officers of the 4 research-intensive universities in the state. We were created in 1986, so we've been around for 25 years, with the primary purpose of building research capacity in the state and serving as science and technology advisors to both the legislative and executive branch of the state. I want to take a minute first and introduce my colleagues, and then we'll talk a little bit about the role of the university's research teams in the Blueprint effort. They're seated all to my left here, starting with Dr. Felix Okogie. Dr. Okogie is Vice President for Research and Federal Relations at Jackson State University. To his left is Dr. David Shaw, who is Vice President for Research and Economic Development at Mississippi State University. And on the end is Dr. Dennis Wiesenberg, who is Vice President for Research at the University of Southern Mississippi. Collectively, everybody here has been engaged actively in research and importantly in making the connection between research and economic development in our state and served in very different capacities throughout our careers, but always with an eye of bringing research activities to improving the economic status of our regions and our state as a whole. I'm going to ask each of them to comment in a moment about a particular university research team. Some of you may recall from the process that the universities have comprised research teams to focus on, to examine the issues that are called the cross-cutting issues. And I'll start this effort by describing just briefly what the Racial Reconciliation Research Team is going to do and who the members of that team are. We'll start, of course, by everybody here acknowledges, I think, and is well aware that long-standing effects on our communities and on our state's global image that have been shaped in the context of race relations in our state. We have made and continue to make significant and historic progress in many ways. For example, Mississippi has the highest number of black elected officials than any other state, having increased tenfold over a 30-year period. And for our economic future, we must continue to make major strides and communicate those successes both within the state and outside of the state. Racial reconciliation involves 3 ideas: that racism is often systemic and institutionalized, that it is a process of relationship building and dialogue, and that the essential component of the conciliatory process must be restorative and not solely retributive. It's through this process that groups around the world, like our own William Winter Institute for Racial Reconciliation at the University of Mississippi, have been working alongside community leaders to bring factions together to work toward goals that benefit everyone in the communities. And an example of this is through the Welcome Table initiative that the Winter Institute has worked with a number of communities in Mississippi to assist them in finding a shared vision of equality, respect, and inclusion. It's an ongoing program that has taken place in Macomb, Greenwood, Oxford, and Philadelphia, among other places. And the direct impacts of this reconciliation process are notable and visible in those communities. For example, after the Philadelphia Coalition held its call for justice, new relationships were formed, and those helped to redraw a parks and recreation plan, creating a community center and playground that's now widely used and enjoyed by the entirety of the community. This has had a great impact on the quality of life in that community, and we all know the relationship of quality of life to economic growth. We also know that from public input gathered during phase 1 of the process, the Blueprint process, that this is an important issue for the people of Mississippi. Throughout the road shows, numerous comments were submitted related to race relations in Mississippi, pretty much in equal measures, praising the progress to date while calling for more work to be done. So at this time, I'd like to introduce the university's Racial Reconciliation Research Team. And you'll see that in this team, as in the others, there are members of the team from each of the research universities and occasionally from other organizations as well. Those who are here, I'll ask that you stand and remain standing until all of the team has been introduced. Chairing this team is Dr. Susan Glisson, Director of the William Winter Institute for Racial Reconciliation at the University of Mississippi. Our other team members are Dr. Tess Bunches from Tougaloo College, Dr. Curtis Austin at the University of Mississippi, University of Southern Mississippi, forgive me, Dr. Austin, Dr. Michelle Deerdorf from Jackson State University, and Dr. Casey Morrison from Mississippi State University. So I want to thank these team members for their work. We look forward to working with the other university research teams, other members of the Blueprint committees and councils. This is a very important effort, and we're excited about it. At this time, I'll ask Dr. Okoji to come forward and make comments about the healthcare research team.
Healthcare for Blueprint purposes encompasses two separate but synergistic concepts: that improving access to quality care for Mississippians is a critical factor in economic growth, and that healthcare R&D is an opportunity for business growth in the state. Combined, these make a compelling argument that healthcare should be targeted industry for our state. This is supported by data. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, healthcare was among the largest industries in 2008, providing over 14 million jobs. It is expected that healthcare will generate over 3 million new jobs over the next 10 years, making it a high-growth industry and opportunity for Mississippi. For example, in the next 10 years, the projected growth in total employment of healthcare professionals ranges from about 20% for nurses to 50% for home health aides. In Mississippi, where we see major health disparities and enormous needs, providing a more and better access to health care, we have a major economic impact by creating a healthier workforce and a stronger healthcare workforce. Also, we know from voting at the roadshow that the Jackson metro area saw healthcare as a great opportunity for economic growth, and we need collectively to find ways to expand this throughout the state. Clearly, this is an important cross-cutting issue for our state, and Jackson State University is pleased to work alongside the University of Mississippi Medical Center to lead this very important effort. At this time, I would like to introduce the healthcare research team. For those of you that are here, please, I ask you to stay standing and remain standing until I have introduced members of the team. The healthcare research team is being co-chaired by Dr. David Parr of the University of Mississippi Medical Center and Attorney Regina Quinn of Jackson State University. Other members of the team are Stephen Pruitt from Mississippi State University and Dr. Marks from the University of Southern Mississippi. Please. Like the other research teams, one of our goals will be to undertake an effort to map our state's healthcare assets and needs. We will also examine case studies of innovative efforts that worked well in other areas and determine if and how they might be used in Mississippi. The team will also work closely with the focus area communities as appropriate to answer healthcare-related questions that may arise from those communities, and also to propose implementation strategies for the recommendations that relate to this area. We are excited about this, and we look forward to working with the other university research teams, the Blueprint communities, and members of the council on this important effort. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Shaw from Mississippi State to speak to the other issue on quality of life.
Let's see if we can get the right slide up. Not sure where we are. I don't know if we need to go backwards or forwards. Let me see. There we go. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Okoji. The Community Life team is going to be focusing on quality of life issues in our state. If we think about that in the broadest context, the World Health Organization defines quality of life as individuals' perceptions of their position in life in the context of the culture and the value systems in which they live in relation to their goals, their expectations, their standards, and their concerns. Therefore, our community life team is going to be including indicators such as wealth and employment, the built environment, physical and mental health, education, safety, recreation and leisure, and social belonging. We know that we have a number of challenges and we have a number of areas for improvement in our state, but we also know that in Mississippi our cost of living is 24% below the national average. We know that home ownership rates are over 72% in the state of Mississippi. Our state has improved children's reading scores at a faster rate than any other state in the nation. We also know that we enjoy shorter commutes, we have ample outdoor recreational opportunities, and we are the hospitality state. Additionally, those that attended the Blueprint Mississippi roadshows ranked our natural resources and our rich musical heritage among some of our best strengths and our great areas of greatest opportunity. Many commendations were made about the creation of the blues and the civil rights and the country music trails, as well as the new museums that we have in our state and the improvements to our existing museums, especially the Mississippi Children's Museum and the B.B. King Museum. Now I'd like to introduce the university's Community Life Research Team. Mississippi State University will take the lead in this effort, and the team is chaired by Dr. Bo Ballou. He is the director of our Southern Rural Development Center. The other team members include Dr. Fidelis Azelia Harrison, Associate Professor of Political Science at Jackson State University, Ms. Stephanie Otts, Senior Research Counsel at the University of Mississippi, and Dr. Laura Downey, the Director of the Center for Research Evaluation, Assessment, and Training Services at the University of Southern Mississippi. In addition to the focus that this team is going to place on community life, another important aspect will be that they will be assimilating the information that's obtained by the other research teams into one comprehensive asset map for Mississippi. And this will prove to be an enormous asset for all of the workings of Blueprint Mississippi and an asset for our state over the coming decade. We also look forward to working with the other university research teams and the members of the Blueprint committees and councils on this incredibly important effort. Now I'd like to turn the podium over to Dr. Dennis Wiesenberg to discuss the infrastructure team.
The University of Southern Mississippi has the leadership in the infrastructure research team. Infrastructure describes the physical, technological, informational, and other systems that allow our state to operate productively. The American Society of Civil Engineers issues a report card each year on the quality of bridges, dams, drinking water, roads, schools, and other issues. In addition, infrastructure now includes broadband, cellular networks, smart grids, and human support systems that really make everything work. One important and major undertaking of the infrastructure research team will be to develop a comprehensive listing of infrastructure assets of Mississippi, and also to identify significant gaps in our infrastructure that impede our economic development. We heard some good news this morning from the blueprint and how far we've come since the 2004 blueprint with the roads that we've developed in the state that have allowed us to develop economically. And so Mississippi has started attracting both site selectors and companies that wish to expand or relocate. And based on polling from the Blueprint Roadshow this year, we learned that 64% of business and community leaders believe that in the next 10 years, Mississippi will either be a newly emerging growth state or a hot economic development location in the New South. And in the September 2010 issue of Area Development Magazine, Mississippi was listed 7th among top states for doing business. And we were ranked 21st in Site Selection Magazine's listings in their annual business climate listing of states. So as I said, we've come a long way since the 2004 blueprint, and the information we're gathering through the research will allow us to continue to move forward. I'd like to now introduce the infrastructure research team. Some of them could not be with us today, but if you're here, please stand and remain standing. The team is chaired by Dr. Tulio Sobaran. Dr. Sobaran is the director of the USM Center for Logistics, Trade, and Transportation. Other members of the team are Dr. Michael Robinson from Jackson State University and Dr. Melvin Ray from Mississippi State University, who could not be here this morning, and Mr. Jason Hale from the University of Mississippi. We look forward to the work this team will do and its collaboration with the other teams working on Blueprint Mississippi, along with the committees and councils in this important effort.
Okay, so let me just... So before I turn it back over to Commissioner Bounds, I just want to remind everyone that we've completed the first phase of this important blueprint effort, where we've gathered a lot of public input. As you've seen, that's been reported out today. Formed the committees. Going forward, the committees will now begin to meet and undertake their charges. The research will be conducted during this time, and we look forward to having the opportunity to report back to you at a later date on the progress we've made on both the research fronts and the committees. And at this time, I'll turn it back over to Commissioner Bounds. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, as you can all see, we are quite fortunate to have the resources that we do at our 4 research institutions, and obviously we have great resources at the 4 regionals as well. My job here is to close this program out by talking a little bit about how you can stay connected, but I think it's important that I sort of put the exclamation point on this research piece and the value of the university system to the future of the state of Mississippi. Let me just give you some quick facts. University research is a nearly $500 million a year industry in Mississippi that A, contributes to economic diversification and growth, B, enhances our state image and stature, and C, creates opportunity for the future. And I think that I could really make the case that the university system is the entity in this state that will create the next economy. The impact of research continues to contribute to our economic diversification by assisting existing companies, attracting existing companies to Mississippi, and creating new companies in Mississippi. And you heard Jonathan talk a few minutes ago about startup companies, and that all the net job growth, Jonathan, I think I heard this right, all the net job growth has come from entities that are less than 5 years old. And he talked about the need for all of you to help. And so let me put that in context around what the Mississippi University Research Authority has done, or MURA as we call it. MURA has created 40 active companies. Those are companies that are in business, creating jobs, and contributing to our economy, and they all started from research at our institutions. Research at our institutions really is critical going forward if we're going to have the kind of economy that we need. So it's important that we align economic development activities with university research strengths. It's important that we think about stabilizing and enhancing state funding for research and increasing awareness of the impact of university research. So there is my commercial for the university system. Closing remark on that is that the university system in this state really is the engine that will drive economic development in our future. So with that, let me just point out that there are a number of ways for you to stay connected. We are technology savvy with Blueprint. There are a number of ways that you can stay connected. They're all pointed out there on the screen, from Facebook to Twitter to websites to apps that can go onto your iPhone or your Android. So find a way to stay connected. This idea that 60% of us somehow think that our children won't have good opportunities in the future isn't where I want us to be, and I know it's not where you want us to be. And so this is really our opportunity to change the future of the state of Mississippi. Get engaged, find a way to be involved. Quick word on timeline. Our primary goal in terms of timeline is to publish a report that we can have out on the streets in October prior to the November elections. We really want to be able to hand this to those individuals who aspire to leadership positions and want to lead our state. We want to be able to take this document and say to our future leaders that this is the game plan, this is the blueprint for the future of our state, and we want you to take the playbook and implement it. So with that, let me bring the meeting to an end and invite you all to spend some time networking with your colleagues, and lunch will begin next door promptly at noon. Thank you for joining us.